Introduction. The Gupta Empire was an ancient Indian empire, which existed from approximately 320 to 550 CE and covered much of the Indian subcontinent. Founded by Maharaj Sri Gupta, the dynasty was the model of a classical civilization. The peace and prosperity created under the leadership of the Guptas enabled the pursuit of scientific and artistic endeavors. This period is called the Golden Age of India and was marked by extensive inventions and discoveries in science, technology, engineering, art, dialectic, literature, logic, mathematics, astronomy, religion, and philosophy that crystallized the elements of what is generally known as Hindu culture. Chandragupta I Samudragupta the Great and Chandragupta II the Great were the most notable rulers of the Gupta dynasty. The 4th century CE Sanskrit poet Kalidasa credits Guptas with having conquered about 21 kingdoms, both in and outside India, including the kingdoms of Parasikas, Persians, the Hunas, the Kambojas tribes located in the west and east Oxus valleys, the Kinnaras, Kiratas, etc. The high points of this cultural creativity are magnificent architecture, sculptures, and paintings. The Gupta period produced scholars such as Kalidasa, Aryabhata, Varahamihira, Vishnu Sharma, and Vatsyayana, who made great advancements in many academic fields. Science and political administration reached new heights during the Gupta era. Strong trade ties also made the region an important cultural center and set the region up as a base that would influence nearby kingdoms and regions in Burma, Sri Lanka, and Southeast Asia. The Gupta Empire was a vast empire of North India. It was a peaceful time. In this time, mathematics made great advances. The discovery of zero, infinity, decimal numbers, and also pi. Advances in medical, astronomy, and science lead to discoverers of 7 planets and minor surgery, and theory of gravity, and figuring out that the planet was round, not flat. This time period was considered the Golden Age. The earliest available Indian epics are also thought to have been written around this period. The empire gradually declined because of many factors, such as substantial loss of territory and imperial authority caused by their own erstwhile feudatories and the invasion by the Huna peoples from Central Asia. After the collapse of the Gupta Empire in the 6th century, India was again ruled by numerous regional kingdoms. A minor line of the Gupta clan continued to rule Magadha after the disintegration of the empire. These Guptas were ultimately ousted by Vardhana ruler Harsha Vardhana, who established an empire in the first half of the 7th century. The 200 years of Gupta rule may be said to mark the climax of Hindu imperial tradition. From the point of view of literature, religion, art, architecture, commerce, and colonial development, this period is undoubtedly the most important in Indian history. The Guptas inherited the administrative system of the earlier empires. The Mauryan bureaucracy, already converted into a caste, had functioned with impartial loyalty under succeeding empires. Under the Guptas, we have direct allusions to viceroys, governors, administrators of provinces, and of course, to ministers of the imperial government. Sources of the Gupta period. Literary sources. The ancient Indian literature were mostly religious in nature and contains no definite date for events and king's egg, the Puranas and the epics. Vedic literature has no trace of political history, but has a reliable glimpses of culture and civilization of the age. The epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata, and the Jaina and Buddhist religious texts supply us with some important historical material with doses of religious messages. Upanishads, main source of Indian philosophy, also called Vedantas. Jaina Parisista Pravana, Buddhist Dvipavamsa and Mahavamsa contain traditions which supply us some historical materials. Gargi Samhita, a book on astronomy, the grammar of Panini and Patanjali also contain materials that help us in the reconstruction of the history of the ancient period of India. From the second half of the ancient period of Indian history, there are not only panegyrics of kings and emperors, but also political treatises dealing with the principles of administration. Kautilya's Arthasastra and Manusmriti may be mentioned in this connection. It was a work of the Maurya period. Vishakhadatta's Mudrarakshasa gives a glimpse of Maurya society and culture. Similarly, events of the Pushyamitra Sunga's reign are mentioned by Kalidasa and Malvikagni Mitram. Among the personal accounts of ancient period, Banabhada's Harshacharita, dealing with the character and achievements of Harshvardhana, as also history of his times. Bhakpati Raja's Gaudabaho, describing how Yasovarman conquered Gauda, deserves special mention. Poet Bilhana described the history of the reign of Chalukya, King Vikramaditya VI, in his Vikramanka Charita. Sandhyakar Nandi's Ramacharita is a description of the reign of Rampal, a king of the Pala dynasty of Bengal. Kalhana's Rajatarangini is a valuable book on the history of the kings of Kashmir. Likewise, Padmagupta's Nabasahasanka Charita, Hemchandra's Dwasraya Kavya, Nyaya Chandra's Hamir Kavya, Balal's Bhoja Prabandha contains important historical materials. Archaeological evidence. The archaeological evidence is obtained by the systematic and skilled examination of building monuments and work of art. The credit for excavating the pre-Aryan past goes to Sir William Jones of Asiatic Society of Bengal, established on 1 January 1784. General Sir Alexander Cunningham, one of its royal engineers, dug out the ruins of ancient site of pre-Aryan culture. From his arrival in India in 1831, Cunningham, the father of Indian archaeology, devoted every minute he could spare from his military duties to the study of material remains of ancient India. Until in 1862, the Indian government established the post of archaeological surveyor, to which he was appointed. Until his retirement in 1885, he devoted himself to the unraveling of India's past with complete single-heartedness. In 1901, Lord Curzon revived and enlarged the Archaeological Survey and appointed John Marshall its Director General. The discovery of India's oldest cities, dating back to the Second Interglacial period between 400,000 and 200,000 BC in 1921 by Daya Ramshani, was the biggest achievement of Archaeological Survey of India under Marshall, the first relics of which were noticed by Cunningham. The cities discovered were named Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, and the civilization as the Indus Valley Civilization. Inscriptions. Inscriptions are the most reliable evidence, and their study is called epigraphy. These are mostly carved on gold, silver, iron, copper, bronze plates or stone pillars, rocks, temple walls, and bricks, and are free from interpolations. Inscriptions again are mainly of three types: royal eulogy, official documents like royal rescripts, boundary marks, deeds, gift, etc., and private records of votive, donative, or dedicative type. Inscriptions in Prakrit, Pali, Sanskrit, Telugu, Tamil, and other languages have been discovered, but most of the inscriptions are in Brahmi and Kharosthi scripts. James Prinsep, the secretary of the Asiatic Society of Bengal, succeeded for the first time in deciphering the Brahmi script. Among the inscriptions of ancient past, those of Emperor Ashoka are by far the best historical evidence about his reign. Inscriptions of Kharvela, king of Kalinga, Sakarular Rudradamana, Allahabad Prasasti by Harisena, the court poet of Samudragupta, are important evidences for the reconstruction of the history. The study of coins is known as numismatics. Thousands of ancient Indian coins have been discovered from which idea about the contemporary economic condition, currency system, development of the metallurgical art has been obtained. The image of Samudragupta playing on a lyre gives us an idea of his love of music. From the dates on the coins, it has been possible to understand the contemporary political history. Samudragupta's Aswamedha coins and Lion Slayer coins gives us an idea of his ambition and love of hunting. Coins. The study of coins is known as numismatics. Thousands of ancient Indian coins have been discovered from which idea about the contemporary economic condition, currency system, development of the metallurgical art has been obtained. The image of Samudragupta playing on a lyre gives us an idea of his love of music. From the dates on the coins, it has been possible to understand the contemporary political history. Samudragupta's Aswamedha, Vasi, accounts of the foreigners. A great deal of our knowledge of ancient Indian history are supplemented by the writing of foreigners. The below table gives a brief survey of important literary works of foreign scholars, mentioning the subjects their works deals with. Condition of northern India before rise of the Guptas. Before the rise of the Gupta dynasty, northern India was divided into a number of small monarchical kingdoms and republics. Monarchical kingdoms. It can be known from the Puranas. The Nagas were very powerful in Vidisa, Kantipuri, Mathura, and Padmavati. The Nagas had spread in the different parts of the country. Sisha, Bhogan, and Sadachandra Chandramsa were some of the famous rulers of the Naga dynasty of Vidisa. The inscriptions refer Bhavanag. Some coins found at Padmavati mention his name. Allahabad inscription of Samudragupta describes that Samudragupta had defeated the two Naga kings. They were King Ganpati Nag and Nagasena. Some scholars are of the view that King Virsena of Mathura was also a king of Naga dynasty. His coins have been discovered in Mathura, Punjab, and district Bulandshahr, etc. Ahichatra, Kingdom Bhadragosa, Suryamitra, Falguni Mitra, Agni Mitra, Brihatsvati Mitra, etc. were the kings of Ahichatra kingdom, and the coins of the first 3 centuries of AD refer to these kings as well. Some of the coins refer the name of Achyutra, who was defeated by Samudragupta. Vakataka kingdom Vindhyasakti is said to be the founder of Vakataka dynasty. But some scholars are of the view that it was Paravarsena who founded the Vakataka dynasty. He was a powerful king and performed 4 horse sacrifices and adopted the title of Samrat. He was succeeded by his son Rudrasena. Samudragupta defeated Rudrasena and incorporated his kingdom into his empire. Ayodhya Kingdom. From certain coins, it can be known that Dandava and Vishakadeva were the ruler of Ayodhya. Dandava was probably the descendant or Pushyamitra. Satyamitra, Ayumitra, Sangmitra were some of the other rulers of Ayodhya. The Maukari kingdom Sundarvarman was the king of Maukari dynasty and ruled in Oudh. The Maukari Senapatis are given the credit of constructing sacrificial pillars. Kaushambi kingdom. Certain coins refer to Sudeva, Brihatsvamitra, Asvagosa, Agnimitra, Devamitra, Varunmitra, Jishthamitra, and Parthapadamitra as the ruler of Kaushambi. The Guptas. Before conquering the whole of northern India, the Guptas were also a local power. Sri Gupta is regarded the founder of the Gupta dynasty. Sri Gupta was succeeded by Ghatotkacha. After Ghatotkacha, Chandragupta succeeded him as a king. In Chandragupta's reign, the growth of the Gupta Empire begins in rapid strides. The Arjunayans. The Arjunayans ruled in the modern Bharatpur and Alwar states in Rajasthan. They had become prominent during the reign of the Indo-Greek kings, but after them, the Sakas subdued them. Thereafter, they again rose after the decline of the Kushanas, but were ultimately defeated by the Guptas as well. The Yaudayas. The Yaudayas had established their rule in the East Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, and parts of Rajasthan. They were the worshipper of Brahmandeva. The Sakas and the Kushanas had subdued them, but after their fall, they again came into prominence. They were ultimately subdued by the Guptas. The Mallavas. The Mallavas ruled in Punjab at the time of Alexander's invasion, but later on they settled in Rajasthan and made Mallavnagar near Jaipur as their capital. The Malva coins refer to the legend Mallavanam Jaya. They are said to be the first to use Vikram era. They also used the Krita era. They had defeated the Sakas and the Mankari Senapati was their vassal. However, they were also subdued by the Guptas, the Licchavis. This was a very old republic. It existed in the time of Lord Buddha, and was a very strong republic before the rise of the Guptas. This is borne by the fact that Chandragupta I had married a Licchavis princess. The Sibas. They had a very big infantry and were a strong power at the time of the Alexander's invasion. Later on, they settled in Rajasthan and made Madhyamika as their capital. This Madhyamika was placed near Chitod, the Republic of Kunindas. This republic was between the Yamuna and the Sutlej, and the upper courses of the Bias, and probably Chhatra was their capital. The Kulutas. The Kulutas lived in the valley of Kabul and were successful in overthrowing the Kunindas. Viryasas and Bhadrayasas were their famous rulers. The Audumbaras. The Audumbaras were placed in the eastern part of Kangra, Gurdaspura, and Hoshiarpura. Daragosa, Sivadas, and Rudradasa were some of their famous rulers. Their coins have the figure of a Siva temple with a Davaja, a trident, and a battle area. Some of the names of the Audumbara rulers can be mentioned as Agnimitra, Mahimitra, Bhumitra, and Mahabhumitra. Their names were mentioned in the coins. Foundation of Gupta Empire in India. The Guptas were famous rulers of ancient India who constructed their own imperialism and introduced the Golden Era in India. After the lapse of a prolonged Dark Age, it was the Guptas who initiated peace and coalesced the entire disintegrated northern India. The Gupta rulers ascended the throne in 320 AD and continued to be the sovereign authority of India till 550 AD. When the Guptas came into the political scenario of India, the condition of entire North India was pretty lawless, and due to lack of any central authority, the provincial governors unfurled their flag of independence after the downfall of the Kushanas. Furthermore, they were at continuous strife with one another, for which the socio-political condition of northern India was extremely chaotic. During that time, the Guptas and the Kshatriyas rose to power, who not only defeated the provincial kings, but also compelled them to offer their allegiance to the Guptas. In such a manner, the Guptas consolidated the entire northern India under their own supremacy. The Gupta records mention the names of the first three rulers of the Gupta lineage who ascended the throne, namely Maharaja Sarigupta, his son Maharaja Srigatotkacha, and the latter's son Maharaja Dhiraja Chandragupta. Though Maharaja Srigupta was the founder king of the Gupta dynasty and established dynastic stronghold in northern India, yet the third ruler, Maharaja Dhiraja Chandragupta, was more powerful and famous than his predecessors. However, historians have pointed out unanimously that the first two Gupta kings had used the title of Maharaja, only the third king, Chandragupta. I initiated the status of Maharaja Dhiraja. From the Gupta records of 4th century, it is known that the title Maharaja only was ascribed to subordinate kings under the central authority during that time, and the title Maharaja Dhiraja was used by an independent king. Hence, from these records, it was presumed by the scholars that the first two Gupta rulers appeared to be feudatories, but their authority is still unknown. Though K.P. Jaiswal has pointed out that the Guptas were feudatories under the Bharasivas, the theory was discarded due to lack of any supportive evidence. Dr. S. Chattopadhyay has, however, pointed out that after the downfall of the Kushanas, the Saka Marandas occupied Magadha, and the Guptas acted as their vassals. Finally, Chandragupta III liberated Magadha from the Sakas or the Scythians and established himself as the independent king of the Gupta dynasty and used the title Maharaja Dhiraja. However, the feudatory status of the Guptas and the Scythian suzerainty over them is a subject of doubt because conclusive proofs are yet unavailable. Allen, one of the famous interpreters of ancient history, has inferred that the title Maharaja was not always ascribed to the feudatories. He also adds that the title Maharaja was used by many independent rulers belonging to the tribes like Parasiva, Maga, Licchavi, and Vakataka. Hence, it is not unlikely that the early Guptas also used the same title as independent provincial kings. Not much is known about Maharaja Srigupta, the founder king of the Gupta dynasty in ancient India. Knowledge about Maharaja Srigupta is limited to the accounts of the Chinese traveler I Ching, who visited the court of Maharaja Srigupta. I Ching, in his historical documents, had mentioned that the extent of the Gupta Empire was too small when the founder king of Gupta dynasty, Maharaja Srigupta, ascended the throne. It comprised the areas of Bengal and some parts of Bihar. A patron of the Buddhist cult, Maharaja Srigupta, constructed a temple for the Chinese pilgrims near Mrigashikavana, close to Virendri or Virendra Bhumi in Bengal, and also granted 24 villages for its maintenance. Maharaja Srigupta reigned probably from 275 to 300 AD. Maharaja Ghatotkacha succeeded his father, King Maharaja Srigupta, to power. According to Vakataka records of Prabhabati Gupta, the daughter of Chandragupta II described Maharaja Ghatotkacha as the founder of Gupta dynasty in ancient India. However, there is no conclusive proofs or supportive evidences about the Vakataka records. Moreover, it provided ambiguous documentations. Hence, in the later years, historians discarded the confirmation of the Vakataka records. The Rewa inscription of Skandagupta also recorded the genealogy of the Gupta rulers, where the name of Maharaja Srigupta was not mentioned. However, Dr. Majumdar has pointed out that one of these records is the official Gupta record. Hence, much importance should not be attached to the omission of the name of Maharaja Srigupta as the founder king of the Gupta dynasty. However, Maharaja Ghatotkacha was regarded a powerful ruler of the Gupta dynasty. Allen has pointed out that the Gupta dynastic inscription mentioned him as Ghatotkacha and not Ghatotkacha Gupta. Furthermore, he adds that Ghatotkacha was also identified as Kacha. The coins issued in the name of Kacha were ascribed to the second Gupta ruler, Maharaja Ghatotkacha. Historians have fixed his date between 300 and 320 AD after a prolonged research. The second Gupta ruler, Ghatotkacha, was succeeded by his son Chandragupta I. He not only inherited the throne of his father, one of the powerful rulers of Gupta dynasty, but at the same time brought Gupta dynasty in the limelight of ancient history by unveiling the obscurity which covered the contemporary political scenario after the Dark Age. The emergence of Gupta dynasty under him as a superior power is evident from his adoption of the title Maharajadiraja. As historical records suggest, the third king of the Gupta dynasty, Maharajadiraja Chandragupta, was not only a powerful king, but at the same time was a shrewd diplomat. To augment the power of Gupta house, he not only subdued the provincial kings, but also established marital relationship with some of the tribes in order to strengthen the authority of the Gupta Empire. It is for this reason, Chandragupta I married the Lichavi princess Mahadevi Kumaradevi. Some of the coins of Chandragupta I bore images of the Maharajadiraja and his Lichavi queen, Mahadevi Kumaradevi, on one side and the figure of goddess Lakshmi on the reverse. The matrimonial alliance of Chandragupta I with the Lichavi princess Kumaradevi is a subject of keen controversy among the scholars. Matrimonial alliance between royal families for political purposes was prevalent in all times, in all countries, for all ages, especially in India. Therefore, historians hold that the Lichavi marriage of Chandragupta I had immensely increased his power. Since the Lichavis were extremely powerful warrior tribes, Chandragupta did not find it wise enough to wage a war against them. But he decided to establish friendly relations with the Lichavis to enhance the strength of the Gupta Empire. But scholars differ widely about the nature and extent of power of Chandragupta I, acquired by his alliance with the Lichavis. Allen has suggested that by matrimonial alliance, the Guptas succeeded the prestige and pedigree in the ancient line of the Lichavis, but did not gain any material power. Romila Thapar supported the view of Allen and endorsed the fact by pointing that the Guptas perhaps did not have any royal origin, But Dr. Majumdar has refuted the views of Allen by saying that the Lichavis did not enjoy any status in the contemporary society. Hence, the matrimonial alliance of Chandragupta. I could not enhance the pedigree of the Guptas. Moreover, Manu Samhita denoted the Lichavis as the degraded Kshatriyas. Allen has further pointed out that after matrimonial alliance, the kingdom of Vaishali ruled by the Lichavis was annexed with the Gupta Empire. But later historians contradicted the view. This is so because the name Vaishali was not mentioned in the list of territories ruled by Samudragupta. Hence, if it were included in his father's kingdom, then, unquestionably, Vaishali would have been part of Samudragupta's kingdom. Hence, according to modern historians, though Chandragupta I engaged in matrimonial alliance with the Lichavis, yet the kingdom of Vaishali was ruled by the Lichavis independently. However, it is generally believed that the alliance of the Guptas with the Lichavis had strengthened the Gupta supremacy in ancient India. Almost nothing is known about the conquest of the third Gupta ruler, Maharajadiraja Chandragupta. Professor R.D. Banerjee has suggested that, strengthened by the Lichavi alliance, firstly Chandragupta liberated the kingdom of Magadha from the shackles of the Sakas or the Scythians. Some scholars have also identified Chandragupta III with Chandrasena, a character of the play Kaumudi Mahotsava. In the play, the alliance of Chandrasena with the Lichavi princess was also mentioned. From the evidence of the drama, it is known that Chandragupta the Fiend allied with the Lichavis and overthrew the legitimate king Sundaravarmana from the throne of Magadha and usurped it. Professor R.G. Basak has expounded the theory that Chandragupta charged I had conquered the province of Pundravardhana, North Bengal. The Allahabad pillar inscription of Samudragupta, however, did not mention that he had conquered the territory of Pundravardhana. It was already part of the Gupta Empire before the ascension of Samudragupta. Therefore, it can be inferred that Pundravardhana was conquered by Chandragupta III. Professor Basak has also identified a king named Chandra of Meharauli pillar inscription with Chandragupta Yaoi. However, this theory did not have wide acceptance. Though the information available about the extent of Chandragupta Yao's empire is very meager, yet historians have presumed that probably it was a large one, which justified his title of Maharajadiraja. Pargater, one of the eminent historians, has suggested on the evidence of a Puranic passage that Saketa, Oud, Prayag, Allahabad, and Magadha, South Bihar, were included in Chandragupta's kingdom. Chandragupta Sharpara evidently had defeated the Maga kings of Kosala and Kausambi and annexed their kingdom. Later, modern historians have opined after prolonged research of the available evidences in the campaigns made by Samudragupta, that the empire of Chandragupta consisted of whole Bihar, portions of Bengal, except the eastern region, or Samatata, and eastern territory of UP. The political importance of Chandragupta lies in the fact that he had initiated the Gupta era in 320 AD that had commenced from February 26th. According to some other scholars, Gupta era actually dated from December 319 AD. Again, some scholars held that the son of Chandragupta III, Samudragupta, initiated the Gupta era in order to commemorate his coronation. However, a strong theory has been approached by another group of scholars that Chandragupta II might have started the Gupta era, although it was calculated from 56 years previous to his reign. However, Chandragupta Shair, the third king of Gupta lineage, was the most powerful among the early Guptas, who not only established a stronghold of the Gupta Empire in northern India, but also had extended the boundary of his empire. India during the Gupta age. The inscriptions mention the following titles as Paramadvaita, Paramabhataraka, Maharajadiraja, Prithvipala, Paramesvara, Samrat, Ekadiraja, and Chakravartin. The king was assisted in his administration by a chief minister called mantra or sachiva. Pratiharas and Mahapratiharas were important officers in the royal court, though they did not participate in the administration. Among the important military officers are mentioned Senapati, Mahasenapati, Baladhyaksha, Mahabaladhyaksha, Baladikrita VI, and Mahabaladikrita, who perhaps represented different grades. There were two other high military officers, the Bhattasvapati, commander of the infantry and cavalry, and the Kataka, commander of the elephant corps. Another important official mentioned in the Basar Seals was Ranabhandagradhikarana, chief of the Treasury of the War Office. One more high officer mentioned for the first time in the Gupta records was Sandhivigrahika, or Mahasandhivigrahika, a foreign minister. One of the inscriptions mentions Sarvadhyakshas, superintendents of all. But it is not clear whether they were central or provincial officers. Numerous inscriptions mention Dutaka, or Duda, who communicated royal commands to officers and people concerned. Dandapasadhikarana represented the chief of the police. Ordinary police officials were known as Dandapaska, Chatas, Patas, Dandika, and Chauradaranika. The king maintained a close liaison with the provincial administration through a class of officials called Kumaramatyas and Ayuktas. The provinces called Bhuktis were usually governed by officers called Uparikas. The governor of a Bhukti has various designations in the official records: Bhogika, Gupta, Uparika Maharaja, and Rajastanya. Bhuktis were subdivided into Vishayas. These were governed by Vishayapatis. The headquarters of the district was known as Adhisthana, and the executive officers of the district as Samvyavahari and Ayuktakas. The district magistrate was helped in his administration by a large staff. They were Maharataras, village elders, Ashtakaladi Karanikas, officers in charge of groups of 8 kulas or families in the local area, Gramika, village headman, Salkika, collector of customs and tolls, Galmika, in charge of forest and forts, Agraharika, in charge of the Agraharas, settlements dedicated to Brahmins. The district records office, called Akshapatala, was placed in charge of Mahakshapatalika. There were also in the district office Sarbadhyakshas, or general superintendents, under whom were employed men of noble lineage called Kulaputras, to guard against corruption. The popular element played an important part in the district administration. The advisory district council consisted principally of 4 members, namely the guild president, the chief merchant, the chief artisan, and the chief scribe. The villages were under gramikas, along with whom were associated mahadaras, or the senior persons of different classes. The town administration was carried on by the mayor of the city, called Purapala, who corresponded to Nagaravyavaharakas of the Mauryan age. Republics. While monarchy was the prevailing form of government during the Gupta period, a few republics lingered on in the Punjab and Rajputana. The Madras were in central Punjab, the Kunindas in the Kangra Valley, the Yaudayas in southeastern Punjab, the Arjunayanas in Agra-Jaipur tract, and the Malavas in central Rajasthan. The Prarjunas, the Sanakanikas, the Kakas, and the Abhiras were in central India. These republics disappeared after about 400 AD monarchy. The theory of the divinity of kings was popular during the Gupta period. Samudragupta is described as a god who had come to live upon the earth. The Gupta established a strong central government, which also allowed a degree of local control. Gupta society was ordered in accordance with Hindu beliefs. This included a strict caste system, or class system. The peace and prosperity created under Gupta leadership enabled the pursuit of scientific and artistic endeavors. Although the king was purposefully associated with Vishnu in the inscriptions and even on the coins, it can be argued that the Guptas were not claiming to be incarnations of Vishnu in the same sense as Rama and Krishna were believed to be incarnations. Rather, they were claiming that their authority to rule the land came to them from Vishnu. They expressed their allegiance to their god through their devotional activities, service to the poor, and patronage of the temple movement. They were kings, but also servants, and this pattern of kingship is also found in different periods of Indian history. By the 4th century AD, political and military turmoil destroyed the Kushan Empire in the north and many kingdoms in the South India. At this juncture, India was invaded by a series of foreigners and barbarians, or mlechchas, from the northwestern frontier region and Central Asia. It signaled the emergence of a leader, a Magadha ruler, Chandragupta I. Chandragupta successfully combated the foreign invasion and laid foundation of the great Gupta dynasty, the emperors of which ruled for the next 300 years, bringing the most prosperous era in Indian history. The reign of Gupta emperors can truly be considered as the golden age of classical Indian history. Shrigupta, born 270–290 AD, who was perhaps a petty ruler of Magadha, modern Bihar, established Gupta dynasty with Patliputra, or Patna, as its capital. He and his son Ghatotkacha, 293–05 AD, have left very little evidences of their rule, and did not issue any coins of their own, although there have been reports of coins of Shrigupta, which need more thorough studies. Ghatotkacha was succeeded by his son Chandragupta I, 305–325 AD, who strengthened his kingdom by matrimonial alliance with the powerful family of Lichchavi, who were rulers of Mithila. His marriage to Lichchavi, Princess Kumara Devi, brought an enormous power, resources, and prestige. He took advantage of the situation and occupied whole of fertile Gangetic Valley. Chandragupta. I eventually assumed the title of Maharajadiraja, Emperor, in formal coronation, most probably Chandragupta. I never minted gold coins of his own, although some historians believe that gold coins depicting King Chandragupta and Queen Kumardevi are minted by him. It is very likely that these coins were minted by their illustrious son, Samudragupta. Shown below is a very nice example of this controversial coin, where Chandragupta and Kumardevi are shown, without halo. Chandragupta is offering a ring, or putting cinder, to his queen Kumardevi. Chandra in Brahmi script is written below left arm of king, while Sri Kumardevi is written near right hand of queen. Reverse of coin shows goddess Ambika, sitting on lion. The legend on reverse reads Lichchavya, which suggests that indeed Samudragupta took pride in being son of Lichchavi princess. His affection towards his parents is amply demonstrated while issuing this superb, commemorative gold coin. This coin is a rare and very special in Indian numismatics. Samudragupta, 335–380 AD. Samudragupta was perhaps the greatest king of Gupta dynasty. His name appears in Javanese text Tantrika Mandaka, and Chinese writer Wang Huan-tse refers that an ambassador was sent to his court by King Megvarma of Sri Lanka, who had asked his permission to build a Buddhist monastery at Bodh Gaya for the monks traveling from Sri Lanka. But the most detailed and authentic record of his reign is preserved in the rock pillar of the Allahabad, composed by Harisena. Samudragupta enlarged the Gupta kingdom by winning a series of battles till he was a master of northern India. Soon he defeated the kings of Vindhyan region, central India, and Deccan. He although made no attempt to incorporate the kingdoms of south of Narmada and Mahanadi rivers, southern India, into his empire. When he died, his mighty empire bordered with Kushan of western province, modern Afghanistan and Pakistan, and Vakatakas in Deccan, modern southern Maharashtra. Samudragupta was a staunch Hindu, and after all his military triumphs, he performed the Ashwamedha Yagna, horse sacrifice ceremony, which is evident on some of his coins. Ashwamedha Yagna gave him the coveted title of Maharajadhiraj, the supreme king of kings. His greatest achievement can be described as the political unification of most of the India, or Aryavarta, into a formidable power. Kumargupta I or Mahendraditya, 415–455 AD. Vikramaditya was succeeded by his able son Kumargupta King. He maintained his hold over the vast empire of his forebears, which covered most of India except southern 4 states of India. Later, he too performed the Ashwamedha Yajna and proclaimed himself to be Chakravarti, king of all kings. Why he did not mint coins commemorating this event is not clear. Kumaragupta also was a great patron of art and culture. Evidence exists that he endowed a college of fine arts at great ancient university at Nalanda, which flourished during 5th to 12th century AD. Numismatic evidence suggests that during his reign, the Gupta Empire was at its zenith. His reign also saw tremendous creativity, and thus a lot of variety in Gupta coinage. Kumaragupta minted 14 distinct types of gold coins, the largest of all Gupta rulers. Many of them, like Rhinoceros Slayer, Apratiga, parents crowning him as ruler, are unique in entire Indian numismatic history. He also minted 2 coin types, Tiger Slayer, shown below, and Lyrist, which his grandfather Samudragupta minted briefly. These 2 types were discontinued during the reign Chandragupta. Skandagupta, 455–467 AD. Skandagupta took over the Gupta Empire and soon had to face with the formidable enemy, the Huns, Hephthalites. He successfully repelled their early invasions and proved to be able king and administrator in time of crisis. Skandagupta in Junagadh rock inscription is described as embraced by the goddess of wealth and splendor who is chosen by Sri Lakshmi, a goddess of wealth. This theme is reflected upon his coins of king and Sri Lakshmi type. These coins show victorious king and his divine consort Sri Lakshmi, who was considered as his second wife, waiting on him invisibly, standing beneath the imperial Garuda, a mythical hawk-like bird, banner which signify victories of Gupta kings over barbarian Huns. The king is shown to carry a bow and arrow while Sri Lakshmi is depicted with lotus in her left hand. Shall be getting this coin soon. Shown below is his silver coin, minted in Kshatrapa style. Reverse is stylized humped bull with inscription Param Bhagavata Sri Skandagupta Kramaditya. King's Council. The king was considered as an incarnation of Vishnu. He was the chief head of all administrative machinery. His main task was to defend the country against foreign invasions. He administered justice, led troops, and had the largest share in the formulation of state policy. He was assisted by a council of ministers that ranged from A. Mantran, the confidential advisor, B. Sandhivigrahika, minister in charge of war and peace, C. Akshapatala Dikrita, minister in charge of records, D. Mahabala Dikrita, and E. Mahadanda Nayak. There was a special class of officials known as Kumaramatyas. Justice was administered by the king and his officials. In the district headquarters, the judges were helped by Seths and Kayasthas and other representatives. The village council was responsible for the judicial administration in the villages. The principal source of king's revenue was 1/6 of the land produce. Taxes were often collected in kind. Forced labor was also practiced. Extra taxes were also levied for special purposes. Council of ministers were often hereditary. Harisena and Saba of Chandragupta II were military generals. Very often, ministers combined many offices. Some ministers accompanied the king to the battles. Chief ministers headed the ministry. Orient period and continue, in fact, up to the 12th century as the highest ranks in official bureaucracy. The position of Kumaramatyas, of whom many are mentioned, is not clear as we know of them in posts of varying importance. The Gramikas, or the village headmen, formed the lowest rung in the ladder. Military officers. Siva Dhanur Veda discusses the military of the Gupta Empire. The Guptas relied heavily on armored war elephants. Horses were used little, if at all. The use of chariots had declined heavily by the time of the Guptas, as they had not proved very useful against the Macedonians, Scythians, and other invaders. Guptas utilized heavy cavalry, clad in mail armor and equipped with maces and lances, who would have used shock action to break the enemy line. They also employed on infantry archers. Their longbow was composed of bamboo or metal and fired a long bamboo cane arrow with a metal head. Iron shafts were used against armored elephants. They also sometimes used fire arrows. Archers were frequently protected by infantry equipped with shields, javelins, and longswords. The Guptas also maintained a navy, allowing them to control regional waters. Samudragupta seized the kingdoms of Shichchatra and Padmavati early in his reign. Later, he took the Kota kingdom and attacked the tribes in Malvas, the Yaudhayas, the Arjunayanas, the Maduras, and the Abhiras. By his death in 3807, he had conquered over 20 kingdoms. Chandragupta II defeated his rival, Rudrasimha III, by 395 and defeated the Saka Western Kshatrapas of Malwa, Gujarat, and Saurashtra in a campaign lasting until 409. Chandragupta II also crushed the Bengal, Vanga chiefdoms. Skandagupta defeated Pushyamitra and repelled the attack of Hephthalites or White Huns around 455. But the expense of the wars drained the empire's resources and contributed to its decline. Judicial officers. Inscriptions refer to such judicial officers as Mahadandanayaka, Mahakshapatalika, etc. Probably, the Mahadandanayaka combined the duties of a judge in general. The Mahakshapatalikan was probably the great keeper of records. It appears that the Kumaramatya, Podagara, Dandapashka, and the Uparaka had each his separate adhikarna. If it is conceded that the term adhikarna meant a court where transactions pertaining to land were decided, it is possible that judicial matters were also decided there. Administrative divisions. For administrative convenience, the empire was divided into several provinces, also known as desa or bukti. They were placed under the governor or the princes of royal blood. The provinces were divided into districts. The local and provincial governments were carried on by regular bureaucracy. Tirabukti was one of the important administrative centers. The excavations at Basar give a glimpse of the system of provincial administration as carried on in Tirabukti, which was the provincial capital of Vaishali and Mithila. As per the excavations, it is presumed that Govindagupta was the governor of the province during the lifetime of his father. From a seal of a general belonging to the establishment of the heir apparent, it is seen that the Yuvaraja had his separate military establishment. The guilds commanded respect and were autonomous bodies. They had their own rules and they looked to the management of the temple. It is evident from the Basar seals in Tirabukti, Kumaramatif were entrusted with the district administration in subordination to the provincial governor called Uparika. Various treatises on law were written, and the most important were Yajnavalkya and Narada Smritis. Yajnavalkya paid more attention to the legal matters and improved his views regarding the rights of women whom he permitted to inherit equally with men. He elaborated the subject of trade and ownership and recognized the written documents in evidence. Central government, each department had its own seal. Number of Mahasanapatis to watch over feudatories. Foreign ministers like Sandhi probably supervised the foreign policy towards the feudastory states. The whole organization was bureaucratic, as in the case of Mauryas. To some extent, the administration mellowed with the Guptas. Police regulations were less severe, capital punishments rare. Glowing tributes were paid to the Gupta administration by Fahian. There was no needless interference of the government in the lives of people. It was temperate in the repression of crime and tolerant in matters of religion. Fahian could claim that he pursued his studies in peace wherever he chose to reside. Provincial administration. Provincial administration, known as buktis or deshas. Officers, very often of royal blood, maintained law and order and protected people against external aggression, also looked after public utility services. Bhuktis were divided into groups of districts called pradeshas. Pradeshas were divided into vishyas, or districts. The head of the districts was Vishayapati. Probably the provincial head was assisted by various officials. Damdor plate inscription mentions number of functionaries: chief banker, chief merchants, chief artisan, chief of the writer class, etc. Whether they formed part of the non-official council of the districts or were elected is not known. District administration. Districts divided into number of villages. Villages being the last unit. Villages looked after houses, streets, temples, banks, etc. Each village had its own weavers, blacksmiths and goldsmiths, carpenters, etc. Village headman known as Gramike was assisted by a council called Panchamandali. Each village had its own seal. Towns looked after by Purapalas, town councils. A very revealing feature of the administration was the payment of grants in land instead of salaries. Only personnel of the military service were paid cash salaries. The grants in land were of two kinds. The Agrahara grant was only to Brahmins, and it was tax-free. The second variety of land grant was given to secular officials either as salary or as reward for services. Both these practices were widely used as the time passed by. These grants definitely weakened the authority of the king. Although technically the king could cancel the grants, he could not do so as the time passed by. Source of revenue. Not enough evidence on taxation. Officials on tour were provided free rice, curd, milk, flowers, transport, etc. Perhaps they were like modern-day officials at the district's level. Local people paid the expenses for apprehending criminals. Three varieties of land. Waste land belonging to state, which was donated very often. The Crown Land War rarely donated. The third was the private land. Land revenue and various taxes from the land and from various categories of produce at various stages of production. Administration was highly decentralized. Police, control of military stores, chief justice, etc. Probably, recruitment ceased to be based on merit. Parallelism of power, highest concentration, and extensive decentralization. Such an administration required a good standing army and complicated system of checks and counterchecks. Economy and society during Gupta Empire. In the Gupta period, land survey is evident from the Puna plates of Prabhavati Gupta and many other inscriptions. An officer named Pustapala maintained records of all land transactions in the district. The Guptas issued the largest number of gold coins in ancient India, but in gold content, Gupta coins are not as pure as Kushanas. The Guptas also issued good number of silver coins for local exchange. The Gupta copper coins are very few as compared to Kushanas, which show that use of money was not the medium of exchange for the common people. The increase in land grants resulted in the oppression of peasants, as along with the fiscal rights, the administrative rights were also given to the grantees. This period also witnessed imposition of forced labor and various new taxes. Gupta period witnessed decline in long-distance Indo-Roman trade. The trade with Southeast Asia got an impetus. The ports of the east coast were Tamarlipti, Gantashala, and Kandura. The ports on the western coast were located at Paroach, Chau, Kalyan, and Cambay. The institution of slavery tended to become weak during this period. The Guptas issued the largest number of gold coins in ancient India. The Varna system begins to get modified, owing to the proliferation of castes. This was chiefly due to three factors. A large number of foreigners had been assimilated into the Indian society, primarily as kshatriyas. There was a large absorption of tribal people into Brahmanical society through land grants. The assimilated tribes were absorbed into the Shudra Varna. Guilds of craftsmen were often transformed into castes as a result of the decline of trade and of urban centers and the localized character of the crafts. The social position of the Shudras seems to have improved in this period. This was due to their involvement in agriculture. Sudras were permitted to listen to the epics and Puranas and also worship a new god called Krishna. The social position of Vaishyas declined during this period due to decline in trade. From around the 3rd century onwards, the practice of untouchability appears to have intensified, and their number registered a rise. Katyayana, a Smriti writer of the Gupta periods, was the first to use the expression asprashya to denote untouchable. The position of women deteriorated further. Polygamy was common. Early marriages were advocated and often pre-puberty marriages. Meghdut of Kalidasa informs about the Devdasi system in Mahakal in Ujjain. Kalidas also inform about the purda prevalent among the elite classwomen. The first example of sati appears in Gupta time in 510 AD in Aran, in Madhya Pradesh. Bhanugupta's Aran inscription, 510 AD. Under the patronage of Gupta ruler, Vaishnavism became very popular. The gods were activated by their unions with the respective consorts. Thus, Lakshmi got her association with Vishnu, and Parvati got her association with Shiva. This was the period of evolution of Vajraynism and Buddhist tantric cults. Idol worship became a common feature of Hinduism. From Gupta period onwards, tree worship was in vogue. Conclusion: the Guptan administration was akin to that of Mauryas. However, it differed from the latter in the degree of centralization. For the first time, the post of officers became hereditary. There were instances for the first time that one officer was given more than one post. Unlike the Mauryan period, the district and local officials were not appointed by the center, but at the provincial level. The officers were paid salary and cash. Guptan administration was, thus, highly decentralized. And as patrimonial bureaucracy reached its logical conclusion in hereditary grants, it reflected the quasi-feudal character of the economy. It comprised a network of self-governing tribes and tributary kingdoms, and their chiefs often served as representatives of imperial powers. The Gupta king took exalted titles like the Mahadiraja, Samrat, Ekadiraja, Chakravartin, befitting their large empire and imperial status. The practice of appointing the crown prince, Kumara, nominated came in vogue. The Gupta kings were assisted by a council of ministers among the high officers. We may take special notice of the Kumaramatya and the Sandhi Vigrahika, who are not known to inscriptions of earlier period. The Kumaramatyas formed the chief cadre for recruiting high officials under the Guptas. It was from them the Mantris, Senapati, Mahadandanayaka, Minister of Justice, and Sandhi Vigrahika, Minister of Peace and War, were generally chosen. The important bhuktis, i.e. provinces, of Gupta period were Magadha, Bardhaman, Pundravardhana, Tirbhukti, northern Bihar, eastern Malwa, western Malwa, and Saurashtra. Whereas under the Mauryas, the city committee was appointed by the Maurya government. Under the Guptas, it was comprised of the local representatives. Decentralization of the administrative authority began during the Gupta period. It was during the Gupta rule that the village headmen became more important than before. The Gupta military organization was feudal by character, though the emperor had a large standing army. In the Gupta period, for the first time, civil and criminal law were clearly defined and demarcated. In Gupta period, the army was to be fed by the people whenever it passed through the countryside. This tax was called Senabhakta. The villagers were also subjected to forced labor, called Vishti, for serving royal army and officials. The Gupta period also experienced an excess of land grants, Agarhara grants, Devagrahara grants. Land grants included the transfer of royal rights over salt and mines, which were under the royal monopoly during the Maurya period. The land grants during this period often transfer administrative rights to the grantees. As a result, the tendency of feudalism was perpetuated.